Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Today is Friday, April 30th, and this video is going to run you through everything that you need to do for today. We are going to just give you a really quick highlights. We're going to do some reminders. We are going to write our journal number, I think it's 8. Yep, journal number 8. I'm going to take you through some intro notes that you're going to want to get down. And then the rest of the time is going to be used for work time on Introduction to the Nervous System, which is due on Monday. If you get Intro to the Nervous System done and you have time left, just use the time wisely. And make sure you've got all the stuff taken care of that you need to for this class, okay? Now, let's see. As always, if you guys have any questions, you can always email me or chat me. It's Friday, so I am probably somewhere in Wyoming or Montana right now. So you could probably email me or text me. My reception is usually not that good out that way, but as soon as I get it, I will make every effort to answer whatever question you might have. So let's get going. So reminders. The first reminder is that if you have any late work that you owe me at all, this would be a great time to maybe get caught up on some of that stuff. Remember that you had an assignment due on Monday. Obviously, you can go into the classwork tab and see if you owe me anything. But if you are unsure, just double check your stuff and see what you've got. Okay. Introduction to the Nervous System that you were assigned yesterday is due Monday by midnight. That's a few pages of reading, really deceptively shorter than it actually looks, followed by 4 questions about the mini article. Make sure that you're answering all of those in really great paragraphs and sentences and giving me some good real life examples to show that you understand what's going on there. Okay. And as always, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. The other thing is some quick stuff about your journals. Okay. Your dream project. We're not due for a little over a month at this point. It's Friday. So you've got until like the middle of the first week of June to get things done. But the clock is ticking. And so I wanted to remind you that over the weekend and, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. If you have any dreams, write down anything from those that you remember. Remember that no detail is too small, no description is too long. Get down everything that you remember, okay? Don't forget to put a date on that and, just decide on a system. Am I going to use the night I went to bed or the morning I woke up for my dates? Just stay consistent, okay? The other thing I wanted to remind you about with the Dream Project is that you've got those 5 outside of class journals. Odds are, if you are the average person that's done this project, you haven't even thought about those yet. But if anything motivates you over your long weekend, please make sure and, do one of those journals. They can be on topics that you make up. It can be about your day. It can be about your hopes for the summer, whatever. Remember that you can write personal on all of those and your dreams if you want to. And when you're writing one of the out-of-class ones, you want to take, 8 to 10 minutes, let's say. Okay, that's kind of it for reminders. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the day, and that is the next journal topic. Now I've got all the journal topics written down on this piece of paper, so please don't think I'm confused or distracted. So the journal topic for the day, first of all, when we get done with this part, you can pause this and do your 8 minutes of writing and then come back. That would be a smart way to get things done. But today is going to be in-class journal number 8. That's right. That's number 8. That means we have 9 and 10 left. We'll be done next Wednesday with these if we stay motivated and we don't take a break for a couple days. So number 8, the date is April 30th. And your shortened version of things for today is the chase. Okay, the chase. So what you're going to do today for 8 minutes that you're going to time on your own, on your phone or on the clock up there on the wall, is you are going to write about being chased. Now, you are either going to tell a story about a time that you were chased, or you're going to make up a story about being chased. It can be in a car, it can be on foot, it can be some amazing Hollywood version of things. Before you hit the end of the 8 minutes, make sure that your chase story comes to a conclusion with you getting away or you getting caught, or I don't know how you want to end it. It's up to you. But you're going to write this story about being chased. Now, again, some of you are like, oh, I'm not very creative. That's fine. Just make up a story about being chased or tell a story about a time you were chased. Okay. Now, why don't you pause the video here for 8 minutes while you do that. Okay. And then come back when you're done. Okay, so if you are where you're supposed to be, you've done the reminders, you've written your journal for today. Remember, in writing the journal, you can write personal on top of that if you would for any reason. If you're typing it, make sure to make it big enough that I can see it. Make the font a little bigger. If you're handwriting things, just write it at the top of the page and maybe circle it so I see it. Okay, so we're going to get started on some notes. So you're going to want to grab out whatever you're going to use as a notebook and type some of these things down. This chapter that we're getting ready to start, like I said yesterday, is I think it's the most difficult thing we do in here. It's a little bit more difficult, especially if you haven't had anatomy. And if you are currently in human bio, there's going to be things in here that maybe I beat Mrs. Bent to in teaching you, or maybe I don't. So we'll see about that. But why don't you ready your notebook? Okay. Now we're going to do some notes, and then when we get done with this, use the rest of the the rest of the time to work on that intro to the nervous system that's due on Monday by midnight. And as always, if you guys have any questions, please make sure and let me know. Again, you can contact me via email or chat. If I have good reception where I am, I will do my best to answer those as quick as I can. Otherwise, I'll be back in Wisconsin on Sunday night. So, you can message me and I'll get back to you then. Okay. All right. Here we go. These are going to be the notes, okay? So let's get rolling. All right, so a little title slide along with my favorite TV nerd with a big brain, Sheldon Cooper. So chapter 3 is called The Brain, Body, and Behavior. And we're going to go through some intro things today. But I think right now, I think one of the biggest things I want to say is it would be impossible for us to cover everything here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a sampling from a bunch of different areas about how your anatomy and biology impact the way you think and the way that you behave. Okay. And in particular, when we do this, we are going to look at a lot of different topics. We're going to look at, we're going to do an intro. We're going to look at the neuron and how the neuron functions. We're going to talk about the cerebral cortex or the cerebrum and its role in behavior. We're going to talk about the hemispheres and what they do. We're going to talk about the four lobes and what they do. We're going to talk about lower brain structures and what they do. And when we hit all those things, we're going to talk about the what does it do, where is it, and what would happen if something went wrong. We'll hit on those things. Then we're going to do a little bit of time on some brain injuries, some different injuries. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you a little thing today in the intro about this. And then we're going to spend some time on some other parts of the body, like the central nervous system, or like the spinal cord and how it works, and a little bit about the endocrine system and the role that it plays in behavior. This will probably take us a couple of weeks to get through because it's a little bit longer unit, maybe 2.5 weeks. We'll have to see. Kind of depends on the speed at which you guys can travel and how much you guys know. But keep up with your stuff in here. Make sure you're doing the work and you're asking questions and you're getting down the notes and things, because that would be kind of important. Okay, so little intro before we do the goals for the chapter. Okay, so before we look at the goals, let's chat about some things. Okay. The first thing is that everything that we're going to talk about in this chapter, we're not going to talk about memory and like why is it that some people remember the square root of 144 and some people can't remember their phone number. We're not going to look at why people have dyslexia. We're not going to talk about IQs and things like that. Those are different topics that we may or may not hit on in psychology too, if you ever get to those classes. What we are going to look at is biology. I like to tell people that this is my chance to be a science teacher. I look at this as like I'm teaching you diet anatomy, 0 sugar. Okay. But, as we're going through, I want you to feel free to ask as many questions as you want to. You guys have been a relatively quiet class so far. I know that you're interested. You guys are doing great work, but I want to make sure that you're getting things out of this that you need. And so as we're going through this, I don't want you to think of this as a unit where we're just memorizing place, function, and malfunction. I want you guys to look at this as really an opportunity to learn about your brain, how your brain works, and maybe some of the what might happens if something goes wrong type things. So that is a human brain. It's actually two human brains. And that's kind of what they would look like outside of your head. We're going to talk about the structure and the consistency and stuff, but basically what you need to know is it's kind of like the consistency of Jell-O. It seems weird to people. They expect, because brains that you've seen on TV or brains that you see in labs, they all seem pretty solid. Well, that's because they've been preserved. They've been made that way so that you can view them and so that people can work with them. But your brain is capable of really great things. Some of you guys doubt yourself quite often because you didn't get the ACT score you want, or I struggle at math, or oh man, I don't know how to use a semicolon. But in reality, your brain is capable of really great things. Okay, what I did is I looked up some interesting facts about the brain and what the brain can do. And for instance, there was a person named Lu Chow who memorized 67,890 digits of pi. Meanwhile, I know 3.14, something. I don't need any more than that. I hit a button on a calculator if I need it, and I don't need it very often. And so if you think about it, some of you guys are like, but I struggle to memorize anything. Well, that's not necessarily true. Over the course of your life, you've memorized tons of things. You've memorized people's faces. Endless amounts of information, song lyrics. Oh my God, my brain is a trash can full of song lyrics and movie quotes. This person in particular, their skill and their talent is for remembering numbers, but you probably have things stored up in your brain that others are like, why do you remember that? Okay. Another person named Zhu Lujan memorized the order of a deck of cards in 13.96 seconds. Now, what that means is somebody took a brand new deck of cards, shuffled it. I can't shuffle cards, but they shuffled cards. They handed them the deck and they looked at it for just under 14 seconds and were able to recite the order of the cards perfectly. That, to me, that's impressive because that's randomized. It's not like the digits of pi where it's a set thing that we can memorize. I mean, if I did that, if I shuffled the cards 100 times and handed it to you, they'd be different. Well, theoretically, they'd be different every time. Okay. Sagar Vucci memorized 52 items off a random grocery list in 30 seconds. That's obviously over one item a second. Maybe in Psych 2, we do this thing, the Battle of the Genders, and we try to see how many items we can memorize off of a grocery list in a minute or 2 minutes. I can't remember exactly how long we did it. The average person only gets into like the mid-teens. So that's pretty impressive. And scientists believe that the average person knows about 35,000 words. Now, if you're bilingual, you probably know more because obviously you have to know them in more than one language. Obviously, a lot of people know more than that. Some people know less than that. And scientists believe that your brain has over 2.5 million gigabytes of memory. Now, I'm not a big computer person. I don't talk about, how much memory does my phone have, or I don't have a fancy computer. I use this one, and most of my stuff is kept in a cloud. But that basically means that your brain is one of the most, if not the most impressive supercomputers on the planet. So you're capable of amazing things. You're capable of way more than you probably give yourself credit for. But your brain's also delicate. Okay, and let me see if I can play this in regular screen mode here. I'll go into present.
Every year, over 100,000 concussions occur in all levels of football. And 60% of these are from head-to-head collisions. In an impact lasting just 15 milliseconds, a player's head, on average, experiences almost 100 Gs of force. And collisions on special teams can result in forces of up to 190 Gs. In the NFL, the average speed of a head-to-head impact, the velocity of both heads combined, is 20 miles per hour, with the struck player's head decelerating 14 miles per hour. According to studies done by Sports Science's chief medical advisor, Dr. Basil Aish, this 15 millisecond impact is equivalent to getting smashed in the head with a sledgehammer. In the last 10 years, the average number of days a concussed player is out has more than doubled. And even improved helmet technology is only able to reduce an 80G impact to 40 Gs, still several times when an F-16 pilot experiences, and more than enough to cause a concussion or neck fracture. For Sports Science on ESPN, I'm John Brinkus.
Now, we're going to talk about this in more depth later on in things. That idea of being hit in the head with being hit in the head with a sledgehammer, that's crazy. I played football in high school, and I've actually had like 6, I think, concussions, maybe 7. I can't remember. I'll have to ask my mom. I can't remember. Now, like I said, your brain is basically the consistency of Jell-O, and when you're hit hard enough, okay, that stuff, your brain rattles around in your head. When it makes contact, or if it's jarred enough, it can actually experience bruising or bleeding on the surface, and that is when we have a concussion. Now, concussions can vary in extremity. It can be a light headache. It can be one pupil dilating, the other one not. It could be lack of memory. I've seen people where their personalities have changed for periods of time. But obviously your brain is delicate. It can be very delicate, but at the same time, probably should have warned you before I clicked on the slide, it can be very, very resilient. This man was out spear fishing or harpoon fishing with friends, and the harpoon gun misfired. Obviously, as you can see, I've got some lovely x-rays of this bad boy going through this guy's head, and a picture as well. I personally, when you see things like this, your first thought is, how did this person survive? Well, the reality is it didn't hit anything vital to survival. It just hit things vital to movement, memory, math, reading, things like that. Actually, they were able to pull this harpoon out of this guy's head, and he was able to live a relatively normal life afterwards. Some issues right away, but the brain is resilient. It will attempt to heal. It will attempt to patch neural problems. Now, I don't know how this must have felt, or the shock that this person must have gone into, but your brain is capable of handling quite a bit. Okay. Now, moving into things, the goals for this unit. By the end of this unit, you're going to be able to do a bunch of different stuff, but I tried to chop it down into like 5 to 6 to 7 things that I thought would be like big key things. Okay. So by the end of the unit, you should be able to differentiate between the different parts of a neuron and explain their functions. Now, a lot of you guys might already be able to do that, or you might be able to do it like just from a quick, that's a dendrite, that's a soma, that's the axon, that's what this does. We're going to look at how that information moves. We're going to look at how it works along the axon, what can go wrong with the axon. You guys watch Lorenzo's oil, so we'll reference that if you took human bio. And we'll kind of work through those different things. We'll probably do that relatively quickly on like Tuesday, because like I said, you guys have probably mostly done that. Okay. We're going to compare and contrast the different divisions of the central and peripheral nervous system. Most of you guys are probably aware your central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. Your peripheral nervous system, like your peripheral vision, is everything you see off to the sides. Your peripheral nervous system are all the nerves that go off of the central nervous system. Like, for instance, when I feel something with my fingers, those are peripheral nerves. When I flex my arm, the muscles, or the nerves that go to my muscles to tell them to flex, those are peripheral nerves. Okay. Third thing, we're going to explain the role of the different lobes of the brain and the hemispheres. So we're going to look at the frontal lobe, the temporal lobes, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. We're going to talk about what they do, what roles they play in your behavior, in memory and intelligence and your skills. We're also going to talk about obviously what could go wrong. Then we're going to talk about the different hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Obviously, I'll throw this out to you so you don't seem like surprised when you do class. Some people know this, some people don't. The right hemisphere of my brain controls the left side of my body. The left hemisphere of my brain controls the right side of my body. Now, you might be like, see, those things are flipped. You're waving the wrong things, but I'm working off myself. So, but there is a crossover point where the right side of my brain controls the left side of my body. Okay, we're also going to be able to identify, place, and understand the roles of over 20 different brain structures. Now, when I say 20, that's give or take. I vary the number based on the year and kind of what you guys seem like you already know. Try to use some prior knowledge, okay? But like I said, we're going to talk location, function, malfunction for a lot of parts of the brain. We're not going to label a diagram this year. We've done that in the past, but we're not going to do that this year. So when it comes test time, it's mostly going to be function and malfunction, okay? Then we're going to discuss various brain injuries and the difficulties that come along with them. I think we'll do concussions and comas for sure. Sometimes we do strokes and aneurysms. Those are not, I don't want to say any brain injury is a common brain injury, but they're all very, very important, very serious. Then we're going to contrast the role of the endocrine system. We're going to talk about how is the endocrine system different than nervous system, but how does it also play a major role in making you. Okay. All right. Now, some quick last things. I'm a big reader. I don't know if you guys know that about me. I don't publicize what I'm reading or how much I'm reading, but I like to buy books. And when I buy books, I tend to highlight quotes that I like or information that I like, and I keep those, and sometimes I refer to them. A few summers ago, I was reading Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is famous for writing the Sherlock Holmes books. That's Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes. If you've never seen the British Broadcasting Company's or corporation's Sherlock stuff, it's amazing. And in one of the books, he's just solved a crime, and his assistant Watson goes, I don't understand how you do it. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand how you put these different things together and are able to solve these crimes. And he turns and he says, I'm a brain, Watson. The rest of me is a mere appendix. Now, if you don't know what your appendix is like this thing in your body, and it can go bad, but it doesn't really have a purpose. It's just there. Or an appendix at the end of a book is it's like this information that we never look at. Okay. And so what he was trying to say is, listen, I am this amazing creature capable of all these things. I can jump, I can run, I can throw, I can catch, I can do math, I can speak, I'm limitless, basically. Well, that's not true, but you know what I mean. But without my brain, I'm nothing. I die. I weigh about 210 pounds. I run relatively well for my age. I think that I'm over average intelligence. I know tons of things. I know song lyrics. I can do complex thinking. I have a great memory. But if you knock out 3 of my 210 pounds, I am no more. Not only am I not able to breathe and things, but I'm not capable of any of those things I can do. So it's important as we look at this that you understand that your brain is the epicenter of who you are. Your brain is what makes you capable of everything. Your brain is what keeps all this other stuff working. It's what makes my heart beats and my lung inflate and me go to the bathroom and 2 + 2 and tying my shoes and all of your names and faces. And without that, I'm just a machine. I'm just a vessel that carries that. So the average human brain weighs about 3 pounds. Okay. Now, a few years ago, I'm sitting and I'm doing this and I'm going through the slide, and all of a sudden I get I knew it. Told you so. Knew it all along. And I'm like, there we go. I know exactly what this moron is going for. And they're like, see, it's right there in print. I'm like, what's right there? I'm like playing stupid. I'm like, I don't see what you're talking about. I don't know. And they go, what? It says the average human brain weighs 3 pounds. Well, okay, for starters, let's backtrack. 3 pounds, give or take a little bit. You start getting way too small or way too big. All right, you have a 4 or 5 pound brain. You're not smarter. Odds are something's wrong. You're going to have difficulties. You're going to have malfunctions. You're going to have difficulties thinking. It's not that you all of a sudden can remember everything and you're completely limitless. But going back to my, I saw it. It's this next part. The average male brain weighs 3.1 to 3.2 pounds on average. The average female brain is about 2.8 to 2.9. And I went, I don't understand what you're trying to point out to me. Well, my brain's bigger. That means I'm smarter. No, not necessarily. Okay. Brain weight, as long as it's within the average, isn't any great indicator of intelligence. If my brain weighs 3.2 and yours weighs 2.8, that doesn't mean that I'm any more capable of anything than you are. It just probably means that the average size of my head is larger and my mass is larger. Generally speaking, in humans, size of head and mass can have an impact on things. So women are generally smaller and have a smaller head circumference. We can look around the room if you want to. You'll see what I'm looking at. Okay. However, I don't want you to think that weight plays a role in brain universally. The average brain of a male silverback gorilla weighs about 400, 500 pounds. Is only 1 pound. Ostriches' brains are smaller than their eyes. They're dumb, man. They're dumb. Okay. And so don't automatically look at somebody and think, well, that person is very small, therefore their brain probably weighs like 2.6 pounds. That person is very large, and therefore their brain may weigh more like 3.3, 3.4. That's not always the way it works. I'm just giving you some averages so you can make sense out of the world. Okay. Now our last slide. Okay. I hate this movie, by the way. It is like my least favorite movie in the world, but I thought the gift went along well with one of the things we're going to talk about. So some stats about your brain. The brain uses roughly 20% of the body's oxygen. So at any given time, I just breathed in, I just breathe out, I just breathe in. My brain is getting 1/5 of every one of those breaths. The oxygen is going there. It's extremely important that your brain gets the proper amount of oxygen, so much so that when your body is deprived of oxygen for periods of time, first it will shut down other parts first in order to like recircuit all the air to your brain. It will make sure that blood flow focuses towards the brain and the central organs to keep you going. That's why when people get cold, their fingers go cold, because the blood circulation will go more to the brain, the heart, the lungs, and things like that to keep you functioning. Okay. This is why when people are deprived of oxygen for too long, we can do CPR and bring you back and get your lungs and your heart going, but you might be brain dead. People who are without oxygen for too long, you start to see mental difficulties. This is why we don't play around with things like the pass out game and things like that, because if you deprive the brain of oxygen for too long, not only can you get brain damage, but it can be catastrophic and you can die. The brain uses about 90% of the body's sugars, those glucoses that we talk about. Thus the fact that Buddy, the stupid elf, is, I think, chocolate syrup on popcorn. Like, that's a great idea. Okay. So when you don't eat, your brain doesn't function the way that it's supposed to. Your memory doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. Your recall doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And that's why when you guys take standardized tests and things like that, we're like, here's a snack, have a granola bar. It's high in sugar. We tell you to eat a nutritious breakfast. Your brain operates at about 20 watts of electrical power. That's roughly like a doorbell on a house, one of those Ring units, or just a regular doorbell. So if we had a battery tester that measured human energy, we poked it in there, it would light up. Okay, thus the light bulb over your head in a cartoon. There's about 100 billion tightly knit nerve cells in your brain. Now, I'm really bad with big numbers. I understand that a billion is a 1 with a comma and a whole bunch of zeros and stuff like that. I get it. But I have a really hard time picturing what 100 billion of anything looks like. Would 100 billion pennies fill my room? Could you fit $100 billion in $20 bills in a briefcase? I don't know, because in the movies, apparently you can. I have a hard time believing that from my ears up, there's 100 billion of anything, but there are. Okay. Between neurons and glial cells, my brain is chock full of things. Again, like I said on the earlier slide, you have about 2.5 million gigabytes of digital memory. So it's a body's supercomputer. So the moral of the story here, and everything I've told you today, I hope you've gotten some of this stuff down. We will talk about some of it next week, is that you are incredible. All right. You're a legend. All right. But some of you guys don't give yourself enough credit because you think that just because you can't remember what 7 times 6 is, 42, that you're not capable of amazing things. Your brain is incredible, which makes you incredible, and it makes you just this amazing thing. Now, with the rest of the time you have left, to finish up introduction to the nervous system. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure and let me know. Intro to the nervous system is due Monday by midnight. Don't forget to write the journal topics and write down any dreams that you have. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bye-bye.